Okay, I think I'm answering this question, but you tell me. Was it possible to articulate my POTS diagnosis without actually knowing that it was POTS? And the answer is not really. So 22 to 23 was kind of this like mystery year of me being like, what the hell is going on with my body? And in the beginning of 23, I went to go see my neurologist because I was getting migraines. And I have always felt that I am not somebody who gets migraines. I literally only started getting them in 21. Up until then, I had never had headaches. And one of the biggest arguments I had with my neurologist was getting to the root of why I started getting migraines. Because if I knew the why, I would change how I treated it. But her approach very much was just like, you're somebody who gets migraines. Like, here's Nurtec, live your life. And if your scans are clear and if everything like that is clear, like, I don't really have an explanation. This is just your new normal. So one of the things that I decided to do was go to physical therapy. And I went to physical therapy specifically to relieve all of like the tension that I was feeling at the back of my head. And mainly because when I started getting migraines, I had a lot of difficulty working out. So my nerves, when I tried to work out, just left me like down. Like I was extremely fatigued. So I went to physical therapy to start building my endurance. And that is where, after I got over the hurdle of reconditioning my nerves, because the first 3 months that I was there doing stuff was in like, they would ask me to do something and then I would need to lay down. Or they would say, like, just walk across the floor and I would get dizzy. Like, I had to spend at least 3 months reconditioning my body to normal movement in order to then start uncovering what my POTS symptoms were. Because as I got physically stronger, what would happen is I would have less kind of like big umbrella reactions, but then I started seeing what the significant reactions were. So I started noticing changes in my blood pressure. That was huge for me. I started noticing that I was constantly having like really significant hunger cues that would leave me feeling faint. That was another big one. I basically just like, I would have adverse reactions to very normal things. And that's what led me on the trail to dysautonomia. As I started reading about it, I was just like, this is weird. Like everything seems to line up. But because I was getting migraines, I kept kind of getting written off. So every time I would go to a doctor, they would just say, this is a migraine symptom. And I would be like, no, I've been having these for 2 years. Like, I know how my migraines work. This is a whole new set of symptoms. And what I pretty much had to do was I had to figure out how to go to doctors to disprove what their leading theory was, because I had too many instances of going to doctors who would write me off. So I remember going to my PCP after I started having episodes of really low blood pressure. And he basically was like, you always trend low. And I was like, okay, like A, that's news to me, but B, I've never trended this low to the point where I'm fainting. I've never had episodes of feeling faint or feeling weak or having difficulty walking. So it's very surprising to me that you're telling me that I trend low. Now, in his defense, this was the height of summer. It's hot. He pretty much was like, if you're trending low, just add salt to your water. Like, you just need to double hydrate. And even when I did that, it didn't help because I kept having these episodes where I'd feel like my heart would just like stop start, or I would have difficulty just standing upright for long periods of time, or like a normal period of time, like 10 minutes down for the count. So once I got like what the doctors thought I had, then I had to start disproving it in a way that was authentic and truthful. So with my blood pressure, what I had to start doing was tracking it. Because if they're telling me I automatically have low blood pressure, then I have to like see where I'm spiking, where I'm dropping. So I basically tracked my blood pressure for over 2 months. When it came to my blood sugar and the combo with the blood pressure, I had gotten blood work done and I was like low in iron. And they put me on iron pills and still I didn't feel better, even after doing 2 rounds of them. So almost like 6 months worth of iron pills. I still didn't have symptoms going away. So that's where I started having to track like my hunger cues and how my body reacted if I don't eat. So I had a whole bunch of things that I needed to keep track of in order to say, yes, I understand that this is the most logical explanation, but when it comes to POTS, logic doesn't really apply. Your body is doing a ton of things that are completely out of character with what it would typically do. That is like dysautonomia at its finest. And what I had to then do was learn how to break apart the symptoms from how they emotionally and physically made me feel. And I'm going to explain that because I know it sounds random, but I basically had to go to doctors with quantitative data. I had to show up with numbers, because when I showed up with this is what it feels like, I got written off as being anxious. And that was the game changer. Like, I literally had to start showing up being like, read my chart. These are the numbers. This is what's going on. And when I became well versed in the quantitative data, it allowed me to then explore all of the other responses that would tend to be written off as anxious, but actually were not that response. And eventually that led me to having a conversation with my doctor, who was not my PCP, but she works in integrative health. And she was kind of the person who was like, listen, we have tried everything. I think it's time you go see the specialist. And when I did see the specialist, that was when it was like, every single one of your symptoms points to this. And when I did the tilt table test, that's what confirmed it.